to the cloud. Okay, it's working now.
Great.
Good afternoon, Sundeep. Pleasure to do a one-to-one again. This
Nice
time
to meet with you again, Khalil.
as a webinar rather than in person, unfortunately. We're facing through lots of issues currently definitely as a society, but also in terms of employment. It's actually a challenge currently. Lots of redundancies, lots of companies that are facing issues, but most importantly, lots of employees that are facing issues, their rights, lots of things. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I mean, it's fair to say that coronavirus has affected the economy in the same way that it's affected every other aspect of our lives. It is a severe shock to the economy, and suddenly many businesses all over the land are in a situation whereby they cannot work, or they cannot work in the way which they did previously. They cannot see clients in person. Some are not even allowed to open up or trade. And I think there was a quick realization by government that if something wasn't done quickly, then there would be a complete meltdown, because firms would make their staff redundant hand over fist. So I think the government has done the best it can as quickly as possible to try and lessen the blow to the economy by bringing in two sets of measures, one aimed at those who are employed, and another set of measures aimed at those who are self-employed, in an attempt to steady the ship and to make sure that people are still in work when hopefully this lockdown situation comes to an end or alleviates.
Yeah, the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, have definitely introduced different initiatives from day one or day two, trying to combat the situation. But how can you help, whether employees or companies, from your expertise, and what makes you different?
Well, how I can help is I've been specializing in employment law now probably for the last 17 years. I've been a solicitor since 1992, so it'll be 28 years in October of this year. Mm-hmm. So what I can do is I can guide employers through the difficult choices they have to make. Because if they want to make staff redundant, then they have to carry out consultation in the normal way. And employment law hasn't been put on hold. Discrimination law, equality law, all of those things apply. So if you get it wrong in who you select for redundancy, then you could find yourself down the line in an employment tribunal. And similarly, if you are going to furlough clients, that has to be done by agreement. And I think that if there is any kind of objection, then matters have to be dealt with so far as consulting properly with your workforce is concerned, because potentially you could be making people redundant because they aren't agreeing to be furloughed. That's an expression which means that with a government subsidy, staff are put to one side without losing their jobs for a period of time of at least 3 weeks. And initially this scheme runs for 3 months, from the 1st of March for 3 months. So I have the expertise, people skills, strategic skills to help firms and companies achieve a soft landing in this extremely and unprecedented time.
And is your target market London, here where you live, or Harrow, or where can you work with companies?
I suppose I can work potentially anywhere in England and Wales, purely and simply on the basis that it's not currently possible or advisable to see clients face to face, but obviously with the benefits of technology, you can see people anywhere. And obviously with due diligence regarding identity, which I'm required to undertake, that process can be conducted online. So I see no problems in doing that. I think I exercise the same skills that I do when I'm meeting somebody face to face. It's just a different medium of communicating. And as a solicitor, I'm quite used to communicating with people.
I think the virtual technology, the new norm that is taking place currently in all over the world, to be honest, with the technology that's available, it's great because we can still do business, we can still meet people, even though it's not on a face-to-face level, but at least on a virtual level, and we can still go through the different types of processes to verify identity and all of that, as you mentioned. So what makes you different from the crowd, from other solicitors in the unemployment or the employment advice arena?
Well, firstly, I'm a member of the Employment Law Committee of the Law Society of England and Wales, and have been since 2010. And we meet regularly at the Law Society, or virtually at the moment, and consider issues regarding employment law and consultations from the government and from government bodies. We put in consultation responses, and we're highly respected. So I come from that background. And also I get quite good feedback from my clients regarding my people skills, because I think I have listening skills. I like to listen to my clients. I like to achieve what they want to achieve within reason, subject to possibility and subject to the ethical boundaries that we have to work in, because I'm obviously a solicitor of the Law Society of England and Wales, regulated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority. So I'm a good listener, and I want to achieve what my client wants, and I want to understand what my clients want to achieve. So I think that does settle me above some others. My style is listening.
Brilliant style, actually. It's listening is about doing rather than just ignoring and not doing. So what would be your advice to small, whether you've named them as self-employed or employed, what would be your advice to each segment?
Well, one piece of advice I can give to both segments is that the government has put out there a series of measures, depending on whether you're employed or self-employed, which will assist with your cash flow of your business. And you need to be aware of what is out there, and you need to put yourself in a position whereby you claim whatever you are entitled to. And I think you have to look at how your business operates and how it's affected by what's going on. What is your need to have staff at the present time if you're an employer and you have staff who are employed? Can you find a position for your staff? Can they operate at home, or are you in a situation whereby there is nothing for them to do during this period, in which case you probably need to consider the furlough. And depending on your cash flow, you need to consider whether you furlough them and just pay them what's given by the government, who will pay you 80% of the wages of that employee, together with your national insurance and some pension contributions, or whether you want to top that up without being compensated. And then I think if you're going to furlough people, you might think, do I want to furlough people for a period of time and have them furloughed in rotation? Because you can furlough for a minimum period of 3 weeks in time. So technically speaking, and the guidance says this, you could have a merry-go-round of staff being furloughed and coming back into work. But you should look at your workforce as well. There may be parts of your workforce who are looking after people they are shielding, who are not in a position to work. So it may be advantageous to you and them to furlough them. And where staff, are on long-term sick, I'm not just saying due to coronavirus, what has been said is that those staff can be transferred from being sick to being on furlough, but not for short-term sickness. So I think it's a question of businesses looking hard at themselves and saying, who are my staff? Who are the people I need to get through this phase? Who are the people who are temporarily surplus to requirements because of the situation? And what is the best way to proceed? Is it by redundancy or is it by furlough, in the hope that when the economy opens up again, you have that workforce there and they're receiving some kind of compensation whilst we are in this lockdown position? If you're self-employed, I think you just go after the compensation that you can with both hands, and make sure that you claim and that you're not ignorant of what you can claim, because there's quite a lot of different measures out there, whether it's concerning mortgage holidays or credit card holidays, or whether it's concerning it being easier to apply for certain benefits such as universal credit, whether it's a grant for business premises. There should be an awareness by those who are self-employed as to what is out there, and just claim. So I think one size does not fit all in these circumstances. And what's good for one business won't be good for another. So there's no general advice you can give in an environment such as this. It has to be tailored advice.
But I think you've mentioned different silver nuggets, the rotation in the workforce, the ability, the meaning of furlough, and most importantly is to seek the knowledge and know where do you stand and how can you benefit from this to overcome the current challenge. I think this was an invaluable conversation, Sundeep, which I'm sure that everybody on my network would benefit from and would appreciate. So thank you so much for this, and keep safe.
Can I give you one final nugget, Khalil, if that's all right?
Yes, go ahead.
For those employees who are put on furlough, if your contract of employment allows it, there is nothing to stop you taking another job whilst you are on furlough. And that's what the government guidance specifically says. So technically speaking, an employee on furlough, provided their contract of employment allows for it, could be achieving a wage for a secondary job, as well as obtaining the 80% for being furloughed. And obviously there's nothing to stop them volunteering in that period.
That is brilliant, brilliant thought. Thank you for the golden nugget that you have given at the end. So thank you so much, Sundeep. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Khalil, for the opportunity.
Thank you.